Steelers Nation, every now and then a player steps onto the field and delivers the kind of performance that forces everyone to stop, stare, and rethink everything we thought we knew about him. And over the past few days, that spotlight has landed squarely on Darnell Washington. Even though the stat sheet from the game against Cincinnati shows only 4 catches for 67 yards, anyone who watched that matchup knows the numbers barely scratch the surface of what he actually did out there. The moment that took over every timeline was that 31-yard burst in which he treated defenders like minor inconveniences, brushing them aside with a stiff arm that looked closer to a throw and powering through tackles as if he had decided the entire drive would belong to him. The clip spread everywhere for a reason. It was one of those plays that turns a big man into a viral sensation and reminds the league that some athletes simply don't have a comparison. And the crazy part is that anyone who has seen him up close knows this isn't some overnight transformation. Darnell has always been enormous, but it is the type of size that looks engineered rather than natural, a rare blend of height, width, and raw mass that somehow still moves with purpose and coordination. People talk about his official weight hovering around 264 pounds, but the reality inside the locker room is that he hasn't been that light in a long time. He is comfortably above the 300-pound mark, and yet there is no extra bulk, no softness, nothing cueing up the image of a player carrying more than he should. He looks like a defensive tackle lined up in a tight end jersey, but built with the athletic traits of someone far smaller. That alone already makes him unique. But add in the fact that he has hands soft enough to secure tough catches in traffic, and suddenly you have a mismatch that most defenses quite literally are not built to handle. What really jumps out is how much he has sharpened the finer points of his game. During his first training camp, one of the biggest concerns involved the transition he made right after the catch. For all the power he had, there was a noticeable hesitation in those first steps, a timing glitch that made coaches wonder whether he would ever become a reliable receiving threat. But that flaw didn't stay around for long. He worked on it relentlessly, repeating footwork drills, adjusting his body control, and refining that first movement until it became almost automatic. Now, when the ball touches his gloves, he snaps into action with a burst that feels impossible for someone his size. That evolution has changed the entire trajectory of his career, because once he builds momentum, even elite defensive backs struggle to bring him down. Watching him run with the football almost feels unfair, and it is not hard to understand why. Tight ends are supposed to have certain limitations. They can be strong but not overly fast, athletic but not overly explosive, powerful but not overly fluid. Darnell doesn't follow any of those rules. As soon as he secures the pass, he stops being a conventional tight end and becomes something entirely different. He turns into a runaway force barreling towards smaller defenders who suddenly look like they wandered onto the wrong field. The way he shrugs off tackles feels like something ripped straight out of a comic book. He doesn't flinch when he takes contact. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't react like someone who acknowledges the size advantage he already has. He simply steps through arms and shoulders like they are minor annoyances, and the play continues as if no one actually tried to stop him. That sense of overwhelming physical superiority is so rare in professional sports that when it does appear, it becomes unmistakable. And that is exactly why the conversation surrounding him is changing. This is no longer about flashes of potential or isolated moments. This is about a player who appears to be exiting the developmental phase and entering the breakout phase right in front of our eyes. The fan base sees it. Opponents see it. Every scouting department around the league surely sees it. The only question left is whether the people making decisions for Pittsburgh are ready to acknowledge it too. Because when someone starts producing this kind of momentum, the smart move is to lean into it. You don't hold back a developing powerhouse. You build around it. You use it. You find ways to let it impact the game again and again. What makes this moment even more striking is that he is contributing on every possible front. Most tight ends who thrive as receivers are average blockers at best, but Darnell blocks like an extra lineman, and sometimes even better. He wins leverage battles against defensive ends who spend their entire careers training to disengage from power. He seals edges with the kind of authority that makes running lanes look obvious. And when the team needs someone to bully through the front seven, he absolutely embraces that role. That blend of receiving ability and elite-level blocking is almost unheard of. That is why describing his skill set without sounding exaggerated becomes so difficult. He is bending the expectations of his own position. And if the coaching staff needed any more proof of his importance, the numbers from the past 2 seasons tell a story all on their own. Whenever he logs more than 40 offensive snaps, the entire offense looks different. The run game becomes more productive. The team stays ahead on the scoreboard. Drives look smoother. Stability settles in. The cause and effect conversation can go in circles, but at some point the results stop being coincidence. When he's on the field more often, Pittsburgh plays better football. It is as simple as that. That is why moments like the one against Cincinnati resonate far beyond a highlight reel. They become reminders that the team has a rare talent standing right there, demanding the football through performance rather than words. And if he keeps stacking games like this, keeps bulldozing defenders, keeps turning catches into chaos, the league is going to have no choice but to prepare for him the way they prepare for the most dominant players at any position. Because once a player starts forcing mismatches every single week, once he proves that his best plays are not accidents, it becomes pretty clear that something big is happening. And for Pittsburgh, it feels like that something is already underway, whether the rest of the league is ready for it or not. And while the buzz around Darnell keeps growing, the spotlight inside the organization has also shifted toward another storyline that refuses to go away, one that keeps resurfacing every time a backup quarterback finally gets a real opportunity to show what he can do. Mason Rudolph walked onto the field against Cincinnati with the kind of calm that only comes from years of waiting, learning, and staying ready even when it feels like no one is paying attention. And for the first time in a long while, the offense looked comfortable. The pocket stayed organized. The timing felt smoother. The passes came out on rhythm instead of improvisation. It was the version of Mason that everyone saw flashes of in the past, the same version that carried the team for a stretch during that 2023 run that no one expected him to lead. What makes his situation so complicated is how little opportunity quarterbacks like him actually get. The league is built in a way that makes development brutally difficult for anyone who is not already a locked-in starter. There is no minor league to work out the rust. There is no place to send a quarterback for meaningful playing time when the depth chart is stacked. If you're not on the field on Sundays, you disappear behind the scenes, throwing reps on the scout team, studying film until your eyes burn, and hoping for a crack in the door that may take years to appear. It is a system that demands patience, yet offers almost nothing in return unless the perfect set of circumstances unfolds. And, somehow, Mason has kept pushing through it. At 29 years old, he has logged a surprising amount of experience for someone who has rarely been given a full season to operate. Every time he has stepped in, he has managed to make something happen. He is not a scrambler who abandons the pocket at the first sign of pressure. He stands tall, goes through his reads, and lets the offensive line do the job it was designed to do. That alone changes the entire structure of the offense. It allows receivers to finish their routes. It lets timing-based concepts actually unfold instead of collapsing the moment the play begins. And when he throws, he does it with a touch that has matured over the years. Short passes arrive with that soft drop. Long balls leave his hand with intention rather than desperation, and the offense suddenly resembles the template it was designed around. Of course, the journey has not been linear. Anyone who remembers the early chapters knows the setbacks all too well. The concussion during his first real run as a starter. The drama that followed the incident against Cleveland, which hung over him longer than anyone expected. The long stretches where he barely saw the field. The endless talk about who should replace whom and what the future of the position should look like. Through it all, he remained exactly what a team hopes a professional will be. Consistent, committed, prepared, and unfazed by everything swirling around him. The interesting part now is that the depth chart is no longer made up of one veteran and a string of unknowns. The organization has 2 quarterbacks who are still trying to carve out a future in the league. Mason brings experience and steadiness, while Howard brings athletic upside and untapped potential. But even he finds himself stuck in the same structural problem. If you're not the starter, you do not get the reps, and if you do not get the reps, you cannot show improvement. This is why every small injury in camp matters more than it should. Every missed day adds to the hill a young quarterback has to climb. Without meaningful snaps, promise stays promise instead of turning into proof. So here the team sits, balancing two possible paths without knowing which one will turn into something real. And while the outside world debates draft classes, free agency rumors, and long-term plans, the reality inside the locker room is simpler. Both quarterbacks are under the same constraints, and both deserve the chance to be evaluated based on more than a handful of appearances. The league has countless examples of players who were written off too early, only to reappear later in new systems and new cities, outperforming every expectation people once had for them. Sometimes the game finally slows down. Sometimes a coach recognizes how to unlock a specific skill. Sometimes maturity just arrives at the exact moment the opportunity finally does too. And when all of those things intersect, the entire narrative around a quarterback can change in a matter of weeks. Mason has shown he can deliver when called upon. He has shown he can handle the pressure of stepping into a chaotic situation and calming it down. He has shown he can run an offense the way it was drawn up on the whiteboard. And for players like him, the only thing missing is repetition. The only thing missing is the chance to build momentum instead of starting from zero every time the team needs a temporary fix. Maybe that break comes soon. Maybe it arrives next season. Maybe it never does. But dismissing the possibility before the story is even written has never made sense. And on the other side of that dynamic stands Howard, watching, studying, and waiting for his own moment. He is young enough that his development still comes with wide-open potential, but he's also trapped in the same dilemma every backup faces. Without a true developmental league, before and after progress is almost impossible to measure. Teams rely on glimpses instead of long-term data. They evaluate based on controlled environments rather than real-game chaos. And that makes every snap, even the few taken in preseason or in practice scrimmages, feel heavier than they should. None of this means the team is locked into a decision. It simply means there is a path in front of both quarterbacks that should not be dismissed before either has the chance to walk it. In a league where careers can be revived unexpectedly and late bloomers find new life all the time, writing someone off early has never been the safer bet. All it takes is one opening, one injury ahead of you, one coaching shift, one system tweak, one sequence of drives that stretches into a full month of strong football. And suddenly the quarterback everyone forgot becomes the quarterback everyone wants to talk about. Maybe that happens for Mason. Maybe it happens for Howard. Maybe it happens for both. But treating their futures like a closed case ignores everything history tells us about how the position actually evolves. The league has a long memory for stars, but it also has a habit of overlooking the steady, persistent workers who wait in the background until the game finally swings in their direction. And once it does, all the years of sitting, studying, and grinding in silence tend to pay off in ways no one sees coming. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers have begun to swirl around the Pittsburgh Steelers facility after reports emerged that a key player may have gone down with an unexpected injury during team activities. Though no official statement has been released, the quiet tension inside the organization has only fueled speculation. Several people close to the situation have hinted that the incident happened suddenly, catching teammates and staff off guard and prompting an immediate shift in practice intensity. By the time word leaked out, the mood around the locker room had already changed, with players noticeably more reserved than usual. What exactly happened remains unclear, and that uncertainty has created a storm of hushed conversations among fans and analysts alike. Some claim it was a non-contact issue, the kind that sends a chill through any football building. Others insist it was the result of a routine play gone wrong, a moment that looked harmless until it wasn't. A few observers have even suggested that coaches deliberately cut practice short, hoping to keep additional eyes away before the whispers spread further. The Steelers, known for playing things close to the vest, have offered no clarification, which has only intensified the rumor mill. Social media has exploded with theories, some calm, others dramatic, but none with enough grounding to settle nerves. Inside the fan base, concern has mixed with curiosity, producing that familiar buzz that sweeps through the city whenever something feels just slightly off. What makes the situation even more intriguing is the player's importance to the team structure. Whoever it is, an insider seemed determined not to reveal a name, appears to hold a role substantial enough that even a minor setback could ripple through the roster. Coaches reportedly spent extra time reviewing adjustments, though the reason for that review remains conveniently unspoken. Until the Steelers break their silence, the air will remain thick with speculation. For now, fans can only brace themselves, hoping the whispers amount to nothing more than off-season noise rather than a true setback lurking behind tightly closed doors. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.